This episode has been brought to you by JustNForm.com. If you're tired of being censored, tired of having your data stolen and sold, go to JustNForm.com, a social media site where all voices are welcome.
Now, I have been known as somewhat of a harsh critic of pretty much every politician. As much as I've supported Bernie Sanders, I've had to critique him a lot when it comes to his rhetoric regarding Assad, when it comes to the pro-Russia or pro-Russia gate rhetoric, or not calling Russiagate what it is, which is phony. I've supported Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and I've also had to critique her. Like, for example, when she made her speech on the news saying that she wanted to make sure every Democrat won, which I didn't agree with. I don't think that every Democrat is the same. And according to her ad, she didn't believe every Democrat was the same. Even when she said that she wanted to get Cuomo elected, I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with not challenging the election for Cynthia Nixon, for example. I always critique Ro Khanna because I don't trust him. I believe that Ro Khanna is a useful pawn and a means to an end. But I believe that he is just a progressive version of a careerist, and that when he positions himself in the right place, he will cave when it matters the most. Granted, I do give Ro Khanna props when he does something that he is supposed to do. But that's just the kind of person I am. But we've entered into this era of almost like people expect perfection, right? Out of Bernie Sanders, out of Ro Khanna, out of Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, but most of all, because of how often she's been on the news and in the news cycle, both positive and negatively. People really expect perfection out of the 29-year-old freshman congresswoman who's been in office for 9 days, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. The left's attacks, or the right's attacks on her, have just been absolutely preposterous, right? They've been nonsensical. A lot of them were sexist. A lot of them have been insulting her intelligence based off of absolutely nothing. They've been telling her not to dance, trying to essentially assert that she is demeaning herself and denigrating herself by dancing when she was at Boston College. Like they tried to use a video of her dancing as an insult, which backfired on them tremendously. But I expect that from the right. But unfortunately, from the radical and extremely detached and oftentimes delusional left, I'm starting to see the same thing. The attacks I've been hearing about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, I always listen to, because there is some truth to everything said about somebody, right? Some truth, a little bit, even if a little bit. There's always some truth when it comes to politics. But one of the main attacks recently that I've been hearing about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, that she supported ICE, right? That she supported a legislation or a piece of legislation that was meant to prop up ICE and make sure that they continue to get funded. But that's not actually true at all. Now, the bill that they're referring to, give me 1 second, I'll pull it up for you, is the, HJ Resolution 1, making further continuing appropriations for the Department of Homeland Security. Now, as many of you all probably know, ICE does fall in the category of Homeland Security. However, there are multiple departments and a lot of employees that belong to Homeland Security, many of which whose jobs are legitimate. ICE is not the only component of Homeland Security. But do you know what this does? This is not, some people are purporting that it gives and authorizes funding to the border wall, when in fact it specifically says that it does not authorize the $5.6 billion that is demanded for the border wall. They also think that it gives ICE further resources. That is actually not true. The only thing that this resolution does is make sure that during this government shutdown, that those employees that are working for the Department of Homeland Security are still paid. Because regardless of whether or not they're working or not working, or they're not going to get paid without that resolution. Families will starve. Hardworking employees will not get their paycheck. Hardworking government employees will not get their paycheck. And furthermore, this isn't the first piece of legislation that we will see like this in the near future. The Democrats plan on introducing a slew of resolutions that will make sure that individually different government entities will continue to be able to pay their employees. Because no matter what, trust me, as a former government employee, I know, but no matter what, these employees are going to have to work. So why is it that it seems that people are gunning for her failure? It's almost like there is this cult of people who are almost thriving in the distress of this country right now. It's like they don't want to see people be successful. That's what I've been noticing. There's nothing productive about a lot of the conversation, a lot of the negative conversation that are surrounded by about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. I support her. I don't think she's a messiah. I don't think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But she's in office. She's been in for office for 8 days. She voted against PAYGO. She tried to introduce a Green New Deal and is still in the process of doing so. She voted to make sure that government employees are still getting paid. She's still calling out Donald Trump's fraudulent and politically motivated immigration wall that will do absolutely not a damn thing. She's actually grown in a lot of ways in the way she's been dealing with both Donald Trump and the Democrats. She's been just as hard on Pelosi as she has been on Donald Trump. She's been just as hard as Democrats who have not supported the Green New Deal as she has been on Republicans. But for some reason, all of that gets overlooked when someone perceives a vote that she makes or a statement that she makes as a mistake without even doing further research to verify if their claims about her making that mistake are true. Just like what we saw with this piece of legislation. I see a lot of Green Party people attacking her. And I almost wonder if they realize, like, even if you get somebody who's Green Party in office at the national level, which seemingly is not going to happen because y'all more worried about cussing out and bitching about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez than you are about actually getting anything done to make sure that you can get into office. But even if they do get into office, do you actually think that your people are not going to make missteps? I know Green Party candidates who don't get it, and they're not even in office yet, who don't always get it right, maybe have good hearts. I know Green Party candidates who wear that green on their back as a moral protective shield to cover up for for all of their negative intentions. But it really seems to me that they just want people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to fail just so they can say, ha ha, I was right. Look, the country's still going to be destroyed. There's still no hope. Ha ha ha. How about taking a step back and actually, one, doing some thorough research. Two, look at what you're critiquing, because this is what I've seen on social media. Look at your critiques on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, however legitimate or illegitimate they may be. Then look at the people to the left and the right of you and look at what they're saying. When you're jumping on someone's status or jumping on someone's Twitter thread and their critique has nothing to do with policy, has nothing to do with rhetoric, it's everything to do with ad hominem, baseless attacks. and then you're jumping in with some random screenshot or some random out of context quote, do you think that you're actually being productive? Or are you merely contributing to the diatribe that is these pointless political games of people who have nothing else better to do than insult those actually trying to do something for this country? And at the very least, I've had Republican friends, Democrat friends, and everything in between all say, you know what? She's not going to always get it right, but I trust her. At the very bare minimum, I trust her. And when she does something that deserves to be critiqued, guess what? There are people out there who will do it in a legitimate fashion. So just like I won't let people blindly follow Trump or blindly attack Trump over something that, like, I'm like, there's all these legitimate things to attack Trump over. Why are you going to pick that? Like Russiagate, for example. I'm not going to let people insult or attack Trump over Russiagate because that's a non-issue. It was not a thing. It's not real. I'm not going to let people blindly attack Alexandria Ocasio Cortez without being immediately corrected. It's time to start taking a step back as we go into this political showdown that we're about to see in 2020. And asking, do we demand or do we want or even need perfection? Or do we want people who are open and malleable enough to say, these are my intentions. I may trip, I may stumble, but help me up. I'm listening. We want the same goals. Help me get there. Be supportive in your critiques, especially when it comes to a person 29 years old, was former Green Party, had holes in her souls, knocking on every door in the Bronx. To be in that position, not because she needed it, but because she wanted to be there for the people. She's not always going to get it right, but damn, give her the benefit of the doubt and do some research yourself before you're trying to attack any and everybody who does or says something that you don't like and trying to assign blanket, generalized insults and ad hominem attacks. Thanks for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. You can donate to our Patreon and keep helping the network grow by clicking on the link in the description below. And also, make sure you join us at JustNForm.com. And finally, make sure you subscribe to us on Roku and be part of the very first independent news network on Roku TV. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.